It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we are going to be running against the Red Velvet Dragon at level 7. The only difference against the traditional teams, we're going to be using Captain Caviar, and I'll show you the timings here on screen, and then we will discuss what's going on with this build overall and how it's working. So, traditionally you guys are probably used to either Cotton, Vampire, Eclair, Affogato, and DC, though Affogato does really well. The two big things with Affogato is that you need to make the entire scene or the entire team last as long as possible to get as much damage as possible out. Where with this team, you have attacks being slowed down by Crunchy Chip, you have equally as powerful defense reduction from Caviar as you do from Dark Chocolate, and then you have the shields from Eclair, which are doing equally as good as most situations. And as you can see here, we have the whole team almost survive. Eclair, we're running pretty thin just because of the toppings, and I'll explain that in a minute. But as you can see, 67 million damage on level 7. 37 million of that is Vampire. So Vampire is of course going to be your heavy carry. But DC usually only can get about 2 to 3 million in damage, and that's even with really good toppings. The only way you're going to potentially circumvent that higher is getting like insanely good damage resistance attack toppings on DC, so it's going to be a really tough build to actually acquire to actually even run that. So if we go into the toppings itself and show you what we're running, you can see why this works and how it does so well. And if our Eclair had actually survived there just a little bit longer, we might have even pushed over 70 million, which I did do in a couple runs. So as you can see, the critical toppings from Crunchy Chip, getting that attack cooldown, getting that high damage. If you could put this into a better substat, like if you wanted to make this as powerful as possible, you would get cooldown here instead of some of the other stats. So crit, damage resistance, and cooldown, those are going to be your best things for Crunchy. That way the wolves keep getting summoned, the critical damage is there, and the damage resistance is keeping Crunchy alive as long as possible. Plus, every time you get that cooldown to activate, you get the attack speed reduction on the boss, and that's what really helps as well. Going into Captain Caviar, I did try a blend between the cooldown and the damage resistance. His health is still just too squishy to run cooldown easily. Yes, cooldown did work, but you need perfect damage resistance on this build to do cooldown. So if you want to run cooldown, you're going to have 30% damage resistance, and that's doable. At 18%, he will still die off at a level 7 dragon. Where on the upper side, we have almost perfect on the almonds here, running 44.8%. I stole these from another cookie to try this out, and it worked well. 4% cooldown's okay. We would want higher, and if we could adjust any other stat to be any bit bigger, then we would do 5.9% to ensure that we would be having the optimal damage from Caviar as well. But you saw the Caviar's damage was still really great as well. Eclair, so here's where, yet again, get some really high damage resistance substats if you can. We only have 24.5%, which is only half as optimal on Eclair here. The reason it's set up like this is because that cooldown's so high and the attack is so high. So we were in more focus of those stats because we want those shields to activate on those lower level solos, and that is how you can do that with Eclair. If you can get perfect toppings that allow you to have 50%, or let's even say 40+%, and still have a high cooldown attack, that's wonderful. And that would be the optimal setup for the dragon because of the way the reflection has changed and the way Eclair has overall changed. And so that would be the optimal if you could. Getting attack and cooldown toppings on Eclair are ways that you can run Eclair as well, but because of the damage resistance requirement, we were at 30%, which is the amount you can get on substats of other toppings, and Eclair still died at level 7. So I honestly more recommend doing the almonds if you can for Eclair. Cotton, of course, high cooldown, some damage resistance. Honestly, for the dragon build itself, you can do cooldown, attack, and attack speed. Those are going to be the 3 optimal stats there, because attack speed increases the auto heal of Cotton, and then the attack itself is just going to increase the damage as well. So those are going to be some ways to optimize Cotton a little further. And then, of course, with Vampire, since the Magic Candy always guarantees the crit, we want full cooldown. If you can, get some attack speed, and then attack. Right now, we have damage resistance. That's an optimal and suitable setup for Vampire. 37 million damage was still amazing. If we had attack speed instead, because we didn't really need the damage resistance for level 7 Dragon, we would have probably pushed well into 40 and 40 plus million damage from our Vampire. Very likely. So those are the toppings itself. That's the timings and the strat. It is working better than Dark Chocolate in these lower level solos. I am going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you're fighting up against the highest dragon that I've personally seen of the new rotations. It's not going to be great because obviously a high level dragon has high level attack and damage, but yet again, just to show you what it looks like so that way you can comparatively see. So, timings as normal. Run the cookies, get that attack speed down. We lose Crunchy first hit. We get that block for our other cookies thanks to Cotton. We get that defense down. Claire's gone. And then we're running off the Vampire hit again. So usually, level like 25 plus, we're hitting 25 million. As you can see here, we hit 25 million on a level 39 dragon. If we didn't have DC, the timings wouldn't have been good enough and the animations wouldn't have been fast enough to actually run that. So that is, it's strong enough to run all the way into the late 30s and still do about 25 million damage. I have not yet seen a team that's handling high level 30 dragons and doing more than that, but if you do have that team or you've seen that team, please let me know in the comments. I hope this video is helpful for you, and as always, I love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.